There is a level of focus most people never experience, not the temporary motivation you get after watching a powerful video or setting a new goal. Something deeper, a state where distractions lose their power and your entire mind becomes locked onto one mission. The men who changed history were not always the strongest or the most talented. They were the ones who mastered the ability to direct their attention toward a single objective while everyone else was being pulled in different directions. Machiavelli understood that a divided mind creates a divided man. A person who cannot control his own attention will always struggle to control his own future. Today, the biggest battlefield is not fought with weapons, it is fought through attention. Every notification, every meaningless conversation, every distraction is competing for the one thing you cannot replace, your focus. Most men believe they are focused, but their minds are constantly being interrupted. They start something, check something else, chase another idea, and wonder why years pass without real progress. A distracted man is easy to control because anything can pull his attention away from his purpose, but a dangerous man is different. He knows his energy is limited. He knows his time is valuable, and he understands that whatever controls his attention controls his destiny. In this video, we will break down the mindset behind extreme focus, the principles used by powerful men throughout history, and how to develop the discipline to become someone who cannot be easily distracted. Because before a man can conquer anything outside of himself, he must first conquer the chaos within, the singular object, the power of one purpose. The first principle behind becoming dangerously focused is simple. You must have a singular objective. Most people fail because their energy is scattered. They want success, but they chase too many directions at once. They want money, recognition, relationships, skills, and status all at the same time. But they never give one thing enough attention to truly master it. A man who tries to conquer everything at once usually conquers nothing. The most powerful individuals in history understood the value of obsession. They understood that greatness is not created by doing more things. It is created by doing the right thing repeatedly until the world has no choice but to notice. Machiavelli studied leaders who rose above ordinary men, and one pattern appeared again and again. They had a clear vision of what they wanted, and they organized their entire life around achieving it. They were not constantly distracted by every opportunity. They were not desperate to follow every trend. They understood that every yes to something meaningless was a no to something important. A focused man protects his mission. Look at someone building an empire. They do not wake up every day asking, "What do I feel like doing today?" They ask, "What action moves me closer to the objective?" That difference separates dreamers from builders. The average person allows the world to choose their priorities. Their phone chooses what they think about. Other people's opinions choose what they pursue. Random distractions decide where their energy goes. But a disciplined man takes control of the battlefield. He decides what deserves his attention. He decides what deserves his time. He decides what deserves his sacrifice. Because focus is not only about concentration, it is about elimination. Every powerful man has something he refuses to give his energy to. He refuses pointless arguments. He refuses constant entertainment. He refuses the need to prove himself to everyone, not because he is incapable of doing those things, but because he understands the cost. Every moment spent fighting unnecessary battles is a moment taken away from building something greater. The world rewards the person who can stay committed after the excitement disappears. Anyone can be motivated for a day. Anyone can feel inspired for a week. But the dangerous man is the one who continues when nobody is watching, when there is no applause, and when progress feels invisible. That is where real power is created. Your focus becomes dangerous when your goal becomes more important than your distractions. A man with one clear mission is difficult to control, because his attention cannot be easily stolen. And when a man controls his attention, he controls the direction of his life. Engineering your environment. Control the battlefield. A man's focus is not only determined by his mindset, it is determined by the environment he creates around himself. Most people try to build discipline while keeping themselves surrounded by everything that destroys it. They keep every distraction within reach. They allow constant noise into their lives. They spend hours consuming other people's opinions, watching other people's progress, and wondering why their own progress feels slow. But the focused man understands something important. Your environment is always training you. Every day your surroundings are either strengthening your discipline or weakening it. Machiavelli understood that a wise leader does not rely only on willpower. A smart leader controls the conditions around him. He removes threats before they become problems. He creates situations where victory becomes easier and failure becomes harder. The same principle applies to personal growth. If your phone is always beside you, you will eventually check it. If your environment is filled with distractions, your mind will constantly search for escape. If you spend your time around people with no ambition, their habits slowly become your habits. The focused man does not leave his success to chance. He designs his surroundings to support his mission. This does not mean living like a prisoner or removing all enjoyment from life. It means understanding what deserves access to your attention. The strongest people throughout history were selective with what they allowed into their minds. They studied, they reflected, they protected their energy, because they knew a distracted mind is a weak weapon. Imagine giving a soldier the most powerful weapon in the world, then sending him into battle without training, without strategy, and without knowing his target. That weapon becomes useless. Your mind works the same way. You can have talent, you can have ambition, you can have big dreams, but without controlled attention, all of that power is wasted. The modern world is built to break your focus. Every platform, every notification, every endless stream of information is fighting for a piece of your mind. The average person loses without even realizing there was a battle. But the man who becomes dangerously focused understands that attention is a currency, and he does not spend it carelessly. He chooses what enters his mind. He chooses who gets access to his time. He chooses what deserves his energy. Because when you control your environment, you stop relying on motivation. You create a system where discipline becomes the natural outcome. And once your surroundings begin working with you instead of against you, your progress starts becoming inevitable. The man who controls himself controls his future. Becoming dangerously focused is not about becoming emotionless or removing yourself from the world. It is about understanding where your power comes from. A man who cannot control his attention will always be controlled by something else. Throughout history, the men who built influence, created change, and achieved extraordinary things had one thing in common. They knew what deserved their energy and what did not. They understood that focus is a weapon. Your attention is the tool you use to build your future, and every day you decide whether you will invest that tool into your mission or waste it on distractions. The modern world wants your mind divided. It wants you constantly reacting, constantly consuming, constantly chasing the next thing. But a disciplined man moves differently. He slows down. He thinks. He chooses. He understands that true power does not come from trying to be everywhere at once. It comes from being completely present where it matters. Machiavelli's greatest lesson was not simply about controlling others. It was about understanding yourself, understanding the game, and making deliberate moves instead of being controlled by circumstances. The man who masters his focus becomes dangerous because he becomes difficult to stop. He is not distracted by every opinion. He is not moved by every temptation. He is not pulled away from his purpose by every obstacle. He has a direction. He has discipline. He has control. And in a world where most people are fighting to keep their attention, the man who owns his focus owns an advantage that most will never develop. Because before you can conquer anything outside of yourself, you must first conquer your own mind.